Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining our session today. A happy Sunday to everyone. So we are an organization called MentorMe. We are into career guidance. We support students with our career guidance and also expert sessions. Shrikar, you can move the slide. So that's a little bit about our organization. We are into career guidance and training programs as well that we support students starting from sixth grade onwards, going until their college, and also we support with career coaching for the working professionals. And we as an organization believe that there is knowledge beyond books, and that's the whole purpose of this session, giving the industry insights to the students, letting them know how careers are in real life, what's the rosy side of the careers, as well as what are the challenges in particular careers. And that's why we are introducing this webinars. There will be a series of webinars that will be coming up with MentorMe. So please stay tuned with our channel for more such career information. Srikar, can you just move the slide, please? Yeah, so how industry expert sessions help, right? They give you the real world knowledge. They help you build a network of professionals around you. You'd get to know, in our industry sessions, we are focusing on updating you with the latest trends, what career educational path that you need to take for this career, what sort of skills you need to build for this career, what sort of soft skills that you will need to build as a student to reach that career, or basically excel even in the career path. The main purpose of this session will be to give you all the insights regarding the career known as interior designer. How do you get started as an interior designer, and what challenges you could face, what skills you would need, how the interior designer industry is. So we have our guest speaker with us today, that is Anupama. Shrikar.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, so we have Anupama Devasya with us. She is a civil engineer by her qualification, and she has worked in construction industry, and then moved on to become an entrepreneur in the interior designing industry. She is a co-founder of a firm known as Creative Access Interior Designers, and she basically runs this company with her husband Amrita Acharya, and they are well-renowned interior designers in Bangalore, and not just Bangalore, but they have ventured into several other cities. Anupama is also a proud member of BNI region, and also she is part of IMB Women Entrepreneurship Program, and she mentors several entrepreneurs through BNI and IMB. And also she loves Carnatic vocal music, and she loves dance forms like jive and waltz, and she is a Vastu expert as well. And Anupama is still pursuing her studies in astrology, and she really is very passionate about interior designing, and she really listens to the customers, try to implement their ideas into an actual home, a dream home, what you would call. Anupama and her team are really great at implementing that. With that, I hand over the stage to Anupama. Anupama, it's all
Siddhisha, is
yours.
it okay if I take like a minute
Sure,
before Anupama begins?
sure. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Welcome everyone who have joined us live today. When we read certain articles about careers or career selection in India, sometimes the headlines are sound so crazy. The last time I read something that said 93% of Indian students are aware of only 7 careers. How crazy is that? We are in 2024 and we are still talking about awareness of just 7 careers. So the whole purpose of having these industry meeting sessions organized by MentorMe is first for us to gain an understanding of all the career options that are available. If you are enrolled with MentorMe, about 250 careers very clearly defined on our website will be provided you have an access to all those careers, and you understand the entire path of where you start and how you end up being a professional in that career. Now these industry expert talks primarily aimed at two things: one, you get an awareness; two, you should also understand. We always hear the rosy side of a career, right? So the second part that we need to understand is, what are the downsides of a particular career? What are the challenges that we face? I think that will better equip any student to choose the career that best fits them. So with those words, I will turn it to Anupama, who's here to talk to us about interior designing. Anupama, over to you, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Agastya. Good morning, everyone. So, just wanted to share my experience in this particular industry. My years of experience, and how we can best guide, people who are passionate about taking this as a profession. May I request the change of slide? Yeah. So just to give a basic of what we are, where we have come from. So we are the Creative Axis, and we are into the field of interiors renovation and vastu. So far, we have touched about 10 locations. I have the 11th one on the slide. That's been the experience with 22 years of work experience so far. Can you go next? We began with the head office in Bangalore. We still have a head office in Bangalore. Two directors, Amrit and me, and 2 decades of experience. Established an office in 1998 and company owned factory in 2014. We are a private limited. We have completed around 920 odd projects and touched 10 locations in South India. The next slide. Yeah. So what exactly do we do? Basically, we listen to the customers who have bought homes, who need something to be done inside the homes, and we design the space with whatever experience we have, and we make sure that the designs are all specific to that client, and give those quality renders, and make sure that vastu principles are applied, and provide a factory finish there, and we have everything under one roof, all services related to the interiors of your space. We do everything so that the client does not have to go somewhere else, right? Everything is well coordinated. So we are also an MSME. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So our vision actually is to design and execute homes that gives the customer a luxury, but again, it has to be affordable. It has to be giving that comfort. It has to take care of that, prosperity through Vastu, right? And the mission is to create it, and make sure it is flawless, and go that extra mile to, give completely customized solution for every client, thereby creating happy homes. The next slide. So before we begin, what is interiors, why choose a career and all, I just want to answer the what, how, and why. So what exactly are the basic necessities of life? If I have to answer, it is roti, kapda, or makan. That will be forever. But how did interiors as such come into existence in terms of academics and profession, and what was the need to have interiors as a specialization? That becomes very important to answer. So, civil, mechanical, and electrical are the three basic pillars of engineering. But civil essentially branched out into architecture, interiors, furniture design, bridge engineering, landscaping, airport designs, hospitality, geology, many more fields like that. And the specialization, basically, when the outside of every building looks similar, especially in a residential space nowadays, then the practicality and the utility of the space inside, and the need to make sure it is very personalized comes in. That is where interiors came into significance as a separate branch into academics. So what is the significance? Basically, the significance is yeah, so the significance basically is that um, see, it is essentially being practiced. It's not something that's new. It has been there in the king's era. If you look at all our old what do you say, the king's palaces, the even the jails for that matter, the museums, the all kinds of structure built by the kings, the temples, the religious places, everything had a certain content of design, and the exteriors look beautiful, the interiors look beautiful. So interiors had its own significance because it was always defined based on the purpose of why are you creating something, right? So that was there right from day one, but it came into existence only as a profession now, is what I can say. So what happened? What is the essence as such? The essence is basically still the imagination creation. Only if you can imagine something, you can create it. And what happens in between that imagination and creation is the paperwork, the budgeting, planning, space planning, color choices, the defining the purpose, utilization, maintenance, use of materials, practicality, timelines. All of that came into existence in between is what I can say. So if you look at our own history, right, the spaces that were occupied by different kings, their empires, for them it really made sense for the kings to have their spaces defined because they wanted to show their strength, or they wanted to show how the empire is to the world. So that is why everything they designed and created was very very significant. So because of that real reason, the scope for interior still today is specialization. Only when you imagine something you can create something, and only when you create, and every creation is definitely out of the box only. And that is the reason why interiors is very very special till date. You create something which someone else has not thought of, not created, and you use your imagination to create that. So that is exactly how we have moved through the eras, and that is exactly how interiors is very very different in different geographies of the world. Different countries have different themes and lifestyles, and all of that essentially blends into interiors. So now coming to the purpose, what is the purpose of designing, right? So before we discuss what is the purpose, we need to understand why is there a need to define a space differently. Now if you're looking at today's times, right, we need to what exactly are we doing by creating a space? We are actually triggering those particular emotions, and we're making sure there's a well-being that is triggered through designing. So the key elements that we consider in designing are always to make sure the five elements are considered, it's blended well, balanced well, and all of that. But what we actually do is we trigger the five emotions, five senses, right? So that is what is actually being triggered through any designs. So the key considerations as such as space planning, utilization, color, shades, material choices, defining lifestyle, budgeting, timelines, all of that are the considerations. So because we all live in vertical spaces today in apartments, and and communities that look very very similar from outside, there is that a pressing need for creating everything very different and beautiful inside, where one's own comfort is taken care of, one's own the lifestyle is defined, and you are having that essentially each space defined for each inmate. That is basically what it is. And aesthetics is also something people want, and it plays a vital role today. We can move to the next slide. So what are the factors to be considered? The factors to be considered are essentially vastu. It is not something that is come into existence today. It's an ancient science. It was very well practiced right from days before, but through invasions, through different rulers ruling the place and their practices, some part of it was lost, and some part of it is like being revived now, it is and being practiced now. But people are now wanting to practice it mainly for the well-being. They just want to ensure well-being, right? So colors, lighting, and ventilation, these things also play a very very key important role. Colors can soothe and can create a vibrant effect depending on what you need to create out of that place, right? And what is that place meant for? Now let's imagine being in a very dark lit place for some time. Now how many of us would like to be in that space for long? You will start feeling depressed, you'll start feeling sad, your entire thought process will start changing no matter how positive person you are, right? So it is very important that a place has to be well lit. That is where the lighting, the mood lighting, the ventilation, all of that came into picture. Now the location where you are doing something also, right, where you're living, where you're building, that also is very very important. Now let's say there's a community, and there's a neighborhood. How exactly is your neighborhood? Whether you want to align yourself with that, or whether you want to be standing out of place literally. So all that is definitely a creation of somebody who's doing that creativity there. So it, and the purpose, let's say a museum cannot be designed like a car showroom, right? We can't do that. The design considerations itself, the factors to consider will be very very different. But again, coming to the bottom line or essence of everything, we need to consider the five elements, the five senses, and make sure that we keep all of that aligned and balanced, right? If you notice this, places that smell good, they have the best crowd, right? They attract a lot of crowd. So that is one of the reasons where it's also very important. That is one reason where you have saloons, or the car showrooms, the hospitals, and all of that, defined and designed very, very differently. They all smell very different, in a way to say. So the mood lighting also plays a very, very important factor here. But ultimate deciding factor for everything will be budget, timelines, and the current trends. A designer should be smart enough to say, okay, this is the current trend, which can probably trend for the next 5 years, 10 years, or this trends is based on your lifestyle trends. And we should know to blend that and also consider the afterlife of any material used, right? So something that is standing well today and not in existence or cannot be maintained after 2 years, you may really not want to put that money in there. The next slide. So what are the skill sets, for students to who are, want to get educated in this field? What are the skill sets you need, or what are the skill sets you'll acquire during the education? So reading a drawing, how to read a drawing, because here everything has to be communicated through the drawings, right? So you need to know how to read a drawing, how to take measurements, how to understand the space, how to plan it, how to create the PowerPoint presentations, the mood boards. You also need to have that creative thinking. Of course, we will all acquire it. It's not necessary that we're all born with it. We will acquire it eventually when we get educated there. And the technical know-how, the kind of materials that we use, what exactly is it, which material needs to go where, which hardware needs to go where, and which element supports which space, right? All that we need to consider. Use of design softwares, this also is something we'll have to acquire. Some of the softwares you probably will be getting trained during your education phase, but then world is an evolving place, so it is very, very important to keep updated, keep learning, and make sure that you implement all this. Ultimately, what do we do? The main process, the thought process, it's all thinking in terms of design, right? But whatever you think, how do you make it presentable to a client? How do you communicate it to the people working with you, right? That is the reason why a software is important right now. So the material calculations and sourcing also becomes very important, because we need to use the right kind of material. People are going very sustainable, eco-friendly nowadays. So we need to see the sustainability and the after effects of using a certain material, the health challenges, if at all. All of this need to be considered, and also we need to blend everything into the current trend that's going in that particular space. And knowing the languages, no matter how much we feel that I know one, two, three languages, I know Hindi, I know English, and probably some other what do you say, languages that I've acquired through courses, it's never sufficient. The more the languages, the better your path is what I can say. You can move to the next slide. Yeah. So, what does the work involve? A day to day in our lives, it involves client interaction, vendor relations, labor management. We need to deal with skilled and unskilled labor, and then sometimes and it's also about timelines and budgeting, designing, using of the right materials. R&D. R&D is something people speak very less about, but essentially R&D is something that definitely, of course, comes into picture during education nowadays, but it essentially is required for us to move to the next step. That is where the growth happens. Only if you know to apply your mind, create something on your own, make sure that sampling is done, and you can make sure it's on the run in the market, right? So problem solving and getting out of comfort zone also is important. You need to network with people of your own fraternity to understand what they are doing, how they are doing. Some knowledge sharing has to be there, and also with some other industry experts, and maybe some other networking platforms, definitely helpful. Getting out of comfort zone is very, very crucial, because only if you know to get out of your comfort zone, you can create comfort for someone else who is wanting to use that place. Yes, getting out of comfort zone is essential, but we still design sitting at our own comfort zones. We just need a table, chair, and a laptop to design, right? But that's how this entire space is, and that is the beauty of being in interiors. Yeah. So now about the sources of inspiration. We can move to the next slide. So the sources of inspiration is basically, where do you get inspired from? It's always from the places you visit, the nature, the colors and elements present in the nature, the reference images that you can find. Nowadays, so there's too much of data available with the internet and social media, so you can use those references images. The current lifestyle that people are living, or people want to move towards, the community and neighborhood that people are living, and the books and magazines available, art, decor, the culture of that particular place, and the history of that particular family or location that you're dealing with. Everything can be blended as a source of inspiration. That is essentially what we can do: blend everything and create your own space. But it's very important to remember, cut, copy, paste works here, provided you know what to cut, what to copy, and what to paste, right? And where to paste. So, but you still need, even if you think cut, copy, paste, and it works and it's easy, no, still the idea and the initiation of that is still with you. You need to create that, and you need to know what to blend, where to blend, and how to blend. And you also need to think for a client where you know what they want, and you know what they can probably need, right? That also you should be able to read, and essentially create a picture perfect scenario at all the homes. That's exactly what we do. Yeah, moving on to the industry ready practices. What makes you industry ready? Definitely the education. It is important to make sure you take those courses and get yourself educated, but again, you need to have learning attitude, attending conferences, doing the internship. What I've seen is, the trend currently is people are not so keen on internship, but internship is very, very important. Make sure you work under someone to gain that experience, because you need to have that experience, right experience of what to do and also what not to do. And during the process of that experience gathering, you will also know where your interest lies and where you can specialize. You will also know how to catch hold of the current trends and where to look for it, and how you can blend those current trends into, let's say, a very traditional form of work. And you also need to know how you can think some of the problem solving requirements will also need to think, will also need your requirement, will also have a requirement to think out of the box. And you also need to have those experiments done. Sometimes not everything is a ready-made solution. You have to think, apply, do something creative. And to create that, those experiments are also required with those materials, whether it is going to be functional or not, whether it's creative enough or not, whether it's going to sustain over the period or not, and whether it's going to be liked or not. Everything has to be blended in. And you also need to observe your surrounding. You also need to have a cultural connect to the local area that place is being created out of, and also the local languages. So a cafe and restaurant, even though both serve food, the designing for both those places are very different. The crowd they attract is very different. The themes that they have are very different. So these experiences really matter, and this is essentially what defines their existence. So these factors need to be considered when we design. Yeah. So what exactly does our day-to-day operations look like? So our day-to-day operations will have a desk job. Site supervision is required. We cannot escape the site. It is always a mess. Sites are always a mess, and that is exactly our workspace. Not everything can be created at site. There are factories available where some of the factory work, some of the work is done at factories. So you need to also visit those factories just to make sure the quality checks, the finishing aspects are taken care of. And then there are routine meetings with every client as the work is progressing. There will be doubts, there will be deviations, there will be some change requests. This is reality, and these need to be catered to. And we also need to create templates when we are doing something new. Those samplings have to be done. We need to visit our vendors to see what's new in the market, and we need to source those materials, have a touch and feel of a lot of materials, and also take care of the finishing aspects. Ultimately, whatever we do, right, if the finishing is not great, then there's no appreciation, there's no moving forward, right? So that is the ultimate factor of our day-to-day operation. Ultimately, if the finishing is great, everything is great. Yeah, moving on to some of the design styles. Just because most of them are aspiring to get into fields like this, I want to cover. There are too many design styles in interior. Some of them are defined under your textbook. Some of them are probably taught, during the courses you attend, and some of them are not nowhere to be seen, but still a part of the internet today. So we have something called classic, minimalistic, modern, traditional, transitional, mid-century modern, Scandinavian, Mediterranean. Uh, yeah, moving to the next slide. Yeah, Bohemian, Japandi, French country, rustic, farmhouse, coastal, Indian, contemporary. So I'll just quickly slide through and show you what exactly these look at. They look alike, at the same time they are very different. We can move through the next set of slides, please. Yeah, so just we can just continue moving to the next slides. So this is a classic design. Everything is, the nomenclature is there: minimalistic, modern, traditional, transitional, mid-century modern, Scandinavian, Mediterranean, Bohemian, Japandi, French country, rustic, farmhouse, coastal, Indian, contemporary. Yeah. So now, if you were to ask me what are the differences between all these styles, right? They all look the same in a way to say they all look the same. But if you were to ask me what is the difference, it is essentially the creation, and this is essentially how we have moved through the time zones. Only when someone has created something very different that has come in as a style, and that is persistent as a style. So that is all about how creative people can be, and in spite of how the place looks, how different it can be. So moving into some of the industry insights, we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So basically, we need to understand the industry. When you are a part of an industry, when you are a part of the work culture, it's very important to understand what is the industry serving as a product or service, and make sure the practices are ethical, and make sure you are, it's all legal, and it's all, all the regulations are taken care of. There's a business structuring done, and then you have to build your portfolio. How do you get to build a portfolio? Yes, you begin with your internship, and then you move along, but as and when you progress is when essentially you build a portfolio, and that is when you also start defining your specialization. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to have that patience, and you need to deal with some customers. You need to make those projects happen, and only then that is when you start building a portfolio. Not everything will be very rosy, but the crux of it is that is to make sure that your creativity is applied and there's a comfort defined. So you need to build the professional contacts, and the finance should be managed well. You need to know where to budget, what kind of budget you need to give to the client, and how you can manage with that budget. The workspace that you're working from and the resources you have also matters, and also it's important to have a marketing and branding going on to make sure that you are visible to the world, and you are gaining constant requirements from people who have those requirements from you, right? So this is where the industry insights come into picture, and what also comes into picture is the pricing and contracts. We need to make sure that we have a pricing given to the clients, the contracts are made, and we stick to those contracts. We have to stay current with technology trends, innovations. We also need to develop an exceptional product or service, and that is basically what we will exist, where will we exist from. Communication is very, very, very important. More than 70% of your job is communication, is what I can say. If you don't know whatever you create in your mind, if you don't know to communicate it through those designs, then it's a zero, right? We stand at zero. So communication, all forms of communication is important. Verbal designs, and all kinds of sketches. Every other factor ultimately leads to communication. And sometimes what happens is a certain space, the way we want to create it, we may not really have the bandwidth or expertise there. That is when the collaboration also comes into picture. We need to know how to collaborate, to what extent to collaborate, and how to make sure that collaboration also is taken in a good way. And moving forward, we also should know how to manage a project and give those attention to details. If we don't know to manage those details, right, then it becomes very, what we say, no purpose design kind of a scenario, right? The quality control and the measures we take to maintain those deadlines, all of that, right? It is definitely challenging, but it is also interesting, and it is not a cakewalk, but for the ones who will enjoy creating something new every day, I think it's a fantastic place to be. So flexibility and problem solving is something, it happens, I think, in every other industry. We need to solve every single project that we do will end up having a new kind of requirement, and it will also have a new kind of challenge or a problem that we will come across, and we need to know how to solve it. This is where thinking out of the box comes into picture, and this is where we need to have that determination and that energy also to define something very different and create that what is a beautiful product or service for the client. So yeah, so this is all about what I could share in terms of my knowledge, and give a basic understanding. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I would say over to mentor me.
Thanks a lot, Anupama. I think that was a lot of good information. Definitely for somebody who wants to get started as an interior designer or who wants to succeed as an interior designer. And we're really thankful for you taking the time to share your journey and your experiences in this industry. There are a few questions that were popping up while you were taking them through the information. So, one question that I have is, what are some challenges you have faced in your career? How did you overcome them?
Okay. So challenges in career can be something as simple as COVID, right? Everybody knows, we are ready with the designs, and when it comes to execution, we are not allowed into the campus. Now, how do we create that place for the client, right? So this was definitely unforeseen. But in those cases, what we have also done is we have created major portion of, let's say, the woodwork. We've created everything in the factory, and shipped it as such. It's gone all the way up to Kakinada, in fact. So it's gone in containers to Kakinada, where we have limited our presence in the site and made sure we take those permissions from the builders and be at that limited 7 days quarantine and all of that, right? We did all that because essentially we had to create that place and somebody had to occupy that place. Other than that, also sometimes there are challenges because we are dealing with when you're talking about a home or any space for that matter. Let's say a car sales showroom also, right? Car showroom. There are people of different age groups. There are people of different mindsets, different cultures using that place. So what happens is we need to create comfort for everyone, even in a home. You know. Today's because of COVID, in fact, today's home is not just a home. घर एक मैदान है बच्चों के लिए. It is also an office for people who are working. It is no more defined as a home. It no more comes under a definition of home, right? It comes
Right.
under multiple definitions today. From 9 to 5, this is my office. After that, it's my home. So then what happens? Then the challenges are you need to make sure that there's soundproofing done. Some portion of it is your home office, defined home office. When you're having a home office, you need to make sure that if it's in the same bedroom, then the bed is not visible. Every single nitty-gritty, we need to take care of. We need to kind of live in that space and create something, and then define that through designs, right? So plenty of challenges. Sometimes even okay, we know there's a deadline, we have to work, and then suddenly the Bescom, the connection is no more available. The entire area is there's no power available in the entire area. Now what do you need to do? You pull your own generator or do what? So there are plenty of challenges. The entire work is completed, and the last day, last minute, you're just fixing one mirror in the bathroom, and then the person who is nailing that place ends up nailing into the plumbing pipeline, and then there's a splash of water. Now we have to get into tiling that particular place where right from the mason has to come, then the electrician has to come. Everyone has to eventually be there. Then it becomes a new project altogether, right? So plenty of challenges, but that is what makes it interesting. You're not dealing with the same people every day. You're not dealing with the same challenges every day. If you're dealing with the same challenges, you know how to tackle it. So that is what makes it interesting.
True, I know. I think everything has its own challenges. Like we were talking in the beginning, it's not just the rosy side always. I think there are always challenges in every profession. So there are more questions that I see. Someone is asking, are there any interior designing courses that you would recommend?
See, interior designing courses, I think there are diploma courses and there are other short crash courses also. I would say do it the right way. The more time you spend on educating yourself, the stronger you are to create something. It becomes easy for you to venture out into the field and create something. I would say educate yourself first, because only if you're educating yourself, then you gain that experience also. Otherwise, you're essentially experimenting on someone else's space. So education is definitely very, very important.
Right. So there is one more question on are there any some tools or software that you use for 3D designing?
Yes, we do use Revit, SketchUp, Maya. There are plenty of softwares, plenty of softwares, rendering softwares, too many of them.
So, would you
Again, everything
suggest
is connected.
students to, study about these softwares or technologies along with their education if they are focused on an interior designing career?
See, what I would say is these softwares, learning these softwares, it is only about creating something using softwares, but they don't really teach the standards. Like, when you're
Mm-hmm.
when you're, let's say, designing a dining table and chair, or let's say you're designing a sofa, you don't really know what height it should be at, what should be the width, what is creating the comfort, whether the armrest or the backrest. How exactly do you define that comfort, right? That designing aspect is definitely through education. Software is, I would say, a means of communication. But yes, if there are 10th 12th students nowadays, everybody knows to use a computer. So they can enroll in understanding and learning these softwares. But essentially, I would say go through education so that you know the right implementation, of any creation for that matter.
Right. There's one more question which is asking, what is the importance of AI in interior designing?
Okay, so we recently tried AI for an elevation of a residence. I would say, see, home is where the heart is. So, no matter how much is created out of AI, yes, AI is definitely good. It makes a lot of work easier. Maybe it will probably trigger some imaginations, and because AI is global, right? You'll also have a global perspective to what you're creating, is what I can say. But I would say don't definitely depend 100% on AI without applying your mind, because in this field it's very important to apply your mind, apply common sense, not anything else. Most of the work we do is common sense. So we have seen a lot of wrong cases also where let's say be the size of the bedrooms or the size of the all of these are very odd sizes, and then what happens to the space around it, right? There is a lot of dead space created then, a lot of
Mm.
passages are created. So one really needs to understand why is a certain space created that way, or why a certain space should be created that way. Then
Mhm.
applying the AI, again, once the AI is applied, make sure you apply your common sense to see if the AI is guiding you right or wrong. That is still with you, is what I would say.
Mhm.
Sirisha,
Right.
I just had one question on behalf of the audience. So, Anupama, we talked about hard skills, courses, tools, etc. What do you think are the essential soft skills for somebody to be successful as an interior designer? Especially if you are in the consulting space, right? You are running something of your own or in the consulting space.
So soft skills, I would say, you really need to know where the client is coming from. You need to have those conversations. You need to pitch right. If there's a client expecting XYZ as solution, you are forcing a forced solution will not apply in this field. So soft skills, definitely, what do you say, drafting skills. You need to know how to do the sketches, and how to even all of this that comes in the desk job, right? Everything is essentially soft skills. You need to know how to communicate. Sometimes we have seen the best of the designers not being so great at communication. So then what happens is it leads to a lot of assumptions for the person who is choosing your service. So then when that sync doesn't happen right, that's when the person essentially loses that job, or the expectation doesn't turn right, things like that. Communication is very, very important, I think. There are too many things to learn, too many things to be to keep yourself updated about. But I'm sure MentorMe is the right platform where you can guide everyone right. And most of us, at least our age group, we did not have too many courses available, too much of guidance available. We did not have the global visibility. I think that way is MentorMe is a wonderful platform where you have that option, where you can guide everyone right, and people are focusing on what they want, at the same time they are starting early.
Thanks. Thank you for that, Anupama. So, in essence, you are saying understand the customer need, communicate well to the customer, pitch well to the customer. So, I think it's all revolving around, how you, build a relationship with the customer right from the beginning until the end of it. So, a follow up question on that. So, if I am an introvert, I'm a shy person. Is this the right career for me? If yes, how do I handle my, my shy attitude, or my inability to handle a new group or gathering?
I would say it's good to be a personal introvert and professional extrovert. And you can be a professional extrovert by being a part of networking platforms, attending conferences, going to certain gatherings. Yes, it will definitely need you to get out of your comfort zone. I've been telling that. So you have to get out of your comfort zone, create comfort for someone else. And if you are an introvert, I think you are someone who will value your comfort space more than anyone else. So it is definitely a fantastic place to be in, interior design, because you know how much you value your own space. You know how much you value your own comfort and privacy, right? So you are the best person to define it for someone else. Then maybe there's a little bit of help that you need with the, going a little being that outward, extrovert person for just that part of where you need that communication, where you need to blend with other people. And nothing comes ready made today. Everything has its own pros and cons, and you need to put that effort, right? So
I
even
think
if
that's
you're an introvert, they will still go to schools, they will still go to colleges, they still need to go and work somewhere else. So I would say, it is definitely a good profession, because when you don't really have much of a work to do, there are some quiet times you can enjoy to yourself also.
right. Right. I think that's a great point, Anupama. I think while any career that we chose, while we are good at some aspects of the career, there'll certainly be certain aspects of the career that we are not the best at, and that is not our comfort zone. And it is essential for us to get out of the comfort zone, at least those aspects of the career, right? So back to you, Sirisha. I think there are a few more questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I think I mostly covered them. There was somebody who was asking about, are the courses for interior designing expensive? Can a middle class person afford it?
Yeah, I think courses, there are plenty of, what do you say, online courses, free courses and everything. Education wise, I think different institutions has their own, what do you say, pricing to it. But I would say that is applicable for every other course. It is not just for interiors, right? It is every other course comes with its own pricing. So one can go for loan. There are many options nowadays. If you want to achieve something, you will want to see how to achieve it. So you will want to achieve it, and when you know this is what you want to do, you will see how exactly you want to achieve it.
Right. There's one more question that's just come up. It says, how can we build our career as an interior designer?
I would say educate yourself, right, and get a little bit of internship and industry expertise by working with someone. When I'm saying working with someone, do not look at short-term working of like 3 months, 6 months. एक साल काम कर लिया सीख लिया बहुत हो गया. It doesn't happen that way. I would say work long term. Let's say take about 3 years, 5 years. Make sure you have that learning. Start on your own only if you think it is worth it, because starting on your own also has got a lot of, you need to build in a lot of energy and a lot of resources around you when you start something on your own. But let's say you are happy working with a certain organization, and you are happy, you have growth there, and you like being with people around you, and there is tremendous growth there. I don't think there is a reason for you to move out of that organization and start on your own, unless until there's a certain purpose to it.
Right.
Again, I
And
would like to add to what Anupama said. I think Anupama is bringing up some really good points today. Careers definitely are long term. I think most of the times young people have an urge to accomplish something really quick, right? And I think we should have those short term goals, but not losing sight of what we have as our long term goals. So I think that fair balance between what I achieve in the short term and what I would be focused in the long term needs to be considered when we are building our career.
yeah,
I would
and
also
one
want to
question.
add
Sure,
I
go
would
ahead,
also
Anupam.
add. Patience is the key. People nowadays don't have that patience. Most of us, maybe because we have too much into smart technologies, that everything, just say, you get those answers from Google, right? So maybe because of that, we are not as patient as we all were probably 10 years before, right? So it's very important to be patient in this field, because lot of things you will have an answer within yourself, that is definitely there, and lot of answers you will have in and around you. And if you know to stick to one particular organization for that 3 years, 5 years, it's a very different kind of learning you will gain. But if you're looking at something short term, what you have acquired from there also is very, very limited. That exponential growth as such, if you're focusing on that, that patience, you need to have that patience to take those, what do you say, criticisms from people also. When you're working under someone, you should be open to take those criticisms. Only then you will get to know, not necessary that everybody is criticizing you in a wrong way, right? It's very important to make your notes. It's very important to make sure that you make your own notes. That will definitely help. Yeah, over to you, Shirisha.
Yeah, I just had one question from my side. Many students choose conventional careers because they feel it's very rewarding to be in a conventional career. I don't want to name them, but we all know most of the students are focused only towards, like Vijay said, maybe only 5 or 6 careers. What would you say? Like, is interior designing a very rewarding career, whether you are working, say, with an interior designer firm, or whether you are starting off with your own interior designing practice? Either ways, would you say it is as rewarding as any other conventional career is?
Definitely. See, the scope is unlimited. You can move across the world. You can move across the globe. And today the globe is open for you to, you can choose to work from a certain country, and you can choose to work with a certain organization. You can choose to do certain specialization. So you can have your careers with a certain conventional platform, but some they probably do it out of, what do you say, compulsion, out of certain family member or certain friends, or let's say the
Correct.
academy they are a part of. Maybe some colleges tell them, you have to choose this as a career, you are good at this kind of judgmental analysis may be difficult. I would say you can explore a little more and see where exactly is your passion and what you love doing every single day. Like, if you were to ask me, I don't think I can fit into any other industry today, mainly because the mind is so tuned. You're constantly thinking of some new ideas, there is some imagination happening. So because of that, I definitely know I fit into this field, right? So it's important. But again, even though I belong to the field of this construction and interiors, I have made sure that I have learned a little bit of vastu, a little bit of astrology. All of these are things where we fine tune ourselves, we blend something into what we do. So choose your career right. At the same time, make sure you still learn something which probably may or may not be related to your field, because you will essentially know where to blend it in.
Sure. Yeah, I like that advice of yours. So, Vijay, I think we can talk a little bit about our services, and we're almost close to 1 hour.
Yes, please go ahead, Sirisha. I can
Yeah, so there are
carry
some
on.
more questions, but I think mostly Anupama has answered them, so I'm skipping a couple of them. Mentor.me is into career guidance. We guide students, we help you, choose your subjects and, your course or your careers in a scientific method. We have an AI based assessment where we help you assess your skills, personality, and interest. That helps you identify a career that fits you the best. It's not just about picking something, just because a conventional career is successful, or just because your friend is doing something, or a family member is advising something. But it's always, recommended to choose a career that fits you the best, that fits you best as a person. It helps you, explore your strengths, leverage your strengths, and that's where you would succeed more. And that's how our counselors help you. We have a team of expert counselors who day in day out deal with students. They are they're knowing the industry challenges as well. They know what jobs are trending in the market. So our career advice is not just based out of some Google search or something. We have people who've been working with people. There is always this human touch to the career guidance that is needed, and that's what we believe in. We believe in personally guiding each student, curating a personalized educational pathway for you so that you professionally succeed in your life. And we also have a career library that gives you extensive information, like Anupama just gave you a lot of insights about interior designing. Similarly, our career library has extensive information onto 50 plus career paths. And that is really a great research based resource, I would say, that is very helpful for the student. And we are also coming up with a series of industry expert sessions, to help the students understand the industry insights, to know what the real career looks like. And also we support students who want to study anywhere else other than India, like UK, Australia, Germany. There are a bunch of countries where we help out students secure admissions in the popular universities. Shika, we can move on. So that's about our company. That's our contact information. So reach out to us either via email or the numbers on your screen. Stay tuned with our channel. We'll bring more and more updates that are relevant to build a professional career journey. So stay tuned with us, like, subscribe us. And thanks a lot for joining today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Vijay, anything else you would like to add?
I would just say, if you are an educational institution in the K-12 space, we are also there to support you with certain 21st century skills, trainings on certain 21st century skills. Just to name a couple of them, we do robotics trainings in various schools. We do trainings on AI and generative AI. So do get in touch with us. Together, let's empower the youngsters to choose the right careers and build the right skills. Thank you, Sirisha.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Anupama. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you. Shrika, you could turn off the live.